Good evening, everyone. We are back with another episode of My Time at Portia. Today we are continuing to expand our workshop. Our theme today is going to be starting to set up a fish farm for fun and profit. Now, fish farming is something that we have. It does take some time to get set up, but can be very profitable if it's done right. So we're going to do sort of the steps to birth this process within our workshop today. That's our goal. So let's start off by seeing how our workshop is doing. So just to reorient ourselves, we're also going to check on what missions we have available for us. We have a commerce commission to do 2 jumbo tires. We're working on the bus station. That requires some aluminum. So does the vehicle pit stop. So those are things that we can't really do anything with right now. And the same with the industrial sewing machines. But it looks like we can complete the photos of Portia and the Commerce Commission. Let's go ahead and work on those. So, one other thing we want to do is make sure that we're sort of continuing to work towards these goals. So we'll be keeping all of our crafting machines going. Our furnaces will keep us with plenty of resources. We have the dogs wrestling in the background to provide some ambiance for us. Gracie, Lily. Grace. Gracie, that's enough. Come here, puppy. Try and quiet them down a little bit. Let's talk to Ack. We want to keep working towards getting Ack as a companion for us. Now, the other thing we want to do is, so we talked about sort of rearranging our workshop. We decided we don't really like the house and the assembly station position. So let's actually head into town and take care of that real quick. Sometimes it's hard to work when we're constantly struck by the inconvenience of it. Dogs. Gracie. Alright, so let's try moving our assembly station somewhere out of the way. And we'll take our home and we'll move that there. It looks like we're actually gonna have to move our home. This one. There we go. We can move our assembly station back over here. I don't like the clipping there. Okay with the clipping if it looks decent, and that looks okay. It's not great, but we can tolerate it. Then the work table we can set, so we should be good. Let's go see what it's like. We'll try that for a couple days, see how we feel. Yeah, see, that's, I mean, there's clearly some weird clipping there, but it doesn't inherently sort of break the game design. One thing is we did have some wooden storage, which got picked up and moved, so we'll go ahead and take that and set that back over here. Want this to be somewhere it's quite convenient for us to have access to. So right next to our front door should be good. Alright, so what do we need for these jumbo tires? We have everything we need. Alright, easy enough. We'll do 2 jumbo tires, and we can go get that in. The jumbo tires. Looks like we're at the research center, or at the museum rather. They were from Merlin. And then we'll head up to the Commerce Guild and see what new commissions they have for us. Alright. Hello, Merlin. I have a mission for you. Merlin has a wish for some strange soup. Wishes are special requests for specific items that you can give to the townspeople in order to gain some sort of quick bonus rep with them. Alright, we also had the quest to fix the handrail. That was going to take some steel plates, which we didn't quite have. Let's see what we can do for our new commission today, though. 2 waste packs, 6 stone stools, or 3 flower carpets. Let's do the 2 waste packs. Should be fun. Now, right now, we don't have any specific reason for prioritizing some commissions over others. Occasionally, we'll want to work on our relationship with one person or a group of people, and so we'll prioritize commissions from them. Alright, so we need snake skins, which we'll have to get from the desert, and quality leather, which we can craft. So let's go ahead and get some quality leather going. That will require some pigments, so we have to get those from the clothing store. So we need some pigments. We'll just buy a bunch of those since we're probably going to want to have several of those on hand as well. Oh, very neat. Looks like we can trade in flexible fiber for rather high quality clothing. Did not know about that, but that's exciting. Well, I think that's all we needed here. Alright. I did want to come by the museum and drop off a couple of the kingfish we picked up. We are going to have to fish up another kingfish, and in particular probably a golden salmon king, although it can be any kingfish that we have. But we need 2 of the same, is what we're going for there. And we already have donated the golden kingfish. We're going to donate the koi king here and the Goliath king. And so now we can see that we're still missing the lanternfish king, the firefish king, the bannerfish king, and the blue mackerel king. I believe we have the bubblefish king as well. That might be in our inventory still. There it is. Now we're going to be setting up some fish tanks and trying to set up a fish farm, which is a very effective way to make a lot of money very simply. Although it does take some setting up, some time to work. It's one of those things that if you start working towards it early, and unfortunately I didn't realize that was something we would have wanted to do, you can conceivably get to, by the end of the first fall, where you're making 10,000 goals a day entirely passively or more, and for very little time and space investment, much greater than regular farming. So we got our pigments. We need to make some quality leather. Not sure how much we'll need. We'll do 6. And then we need some snake skins. Now each waste pack was going to take 3 snake skins, so we'll have to farm out from the desert, 5 or 6 more. We'll actually go ahead and take the DD transport out there. So I believe there are some snakes. There we go. Second snake skin. We're going to need a total of 6. Not sure what the respawn rate on these is. There's 3. Snake in a box. I assume that's the next level snake. It's quite a lot higher level than we are. I'm a little tempted to let it try and take a bite out of us, but I'm afraid the last time we got bit by something 15 levels higher than us, the game just ended. It one-shot us. So let's see what happens if we do let it. Oh, it heals. That's interesting. Not really sure what I expected, but I didn't think it was that. It was 60. So not really bad. I think we're to the point where we have enough defense that we don't really need to worry too much about. Am curious. I'm thinking the reason it started healing is it got too far from its spawn point. Okay, so there we go. So we got some flexible fiber, some snake skin, some snake meat, and a poison fang. So that's interesting. But I think we got the snake skin we came for, is the important thing. So, spend a little bit of time up here. Since we're not going to have our quality leather until tomorrow, spend a little bit of time fishing. And trying for that second emperor, or king salmon. Now we'll also catch any wise fish just because they're very profitable for us to get, but we're really looking for a king salmon. That's our goal here. Of course, any kingfish is profitable, so pick those up, but I suppose any emperor fish, or if we're going to go for the 300 goals as our cutoff, then emperor gladiator fish would also be ahead of that. Now, how the fish breeding works, how the fish farm technique works, is that you set up a fish tank, and if you have 2 fish of the same type and you've given them enough food, then after some period of time, they will breed and produce another fish of that type. So in theory, you can breed large numbers of fish. Now, some fish, and in particular things like golden salmon or the catfish, will simply require more food than the fish are worth, and so it's not profitable to do that in any way. But with the kingfish, it takes about 1,000 goals worth of food to keep them fed, keep a pair of kingfish fed, or the gestation period for a new kingfish. And since that new kingfish is worth then about 5,000 goals, you make about 4,000 goals in profit. Here's one king. Not really the one we were going for, but we'll take it. And who knows, maybe we'll get lucky. Be able to breed some gladiator kings. Oh, there's our second. That's insane. 2 kingfish back to back. This game. And so then, of course, the trick is that if you do a bit of fishing early on and you're able to start breeding by, say, the end of the first spring with 2 fish, then by the end of the first summer, you can have 12 fish, and by the end of the first fall, it can grow up to around 30 fish, at which point you're producing just tons. Lex, we are actually playing on PC right now, although I believe that this all works for the console versions as well. I do have the game on Switch. Unfortunately, the most recent Switch patch really made the game unstable, and so I've been a little less keen on playing it as much recently. I think 4 or 5 days ago they released the patch, and it greatly increased loading times and just sort of the lags and stutters that you were seeing throughout the game. But what that patch did do was bring the content of the game up to the PC version with just a few minor exceptions. Things like voice acting are still missing. But by and large, anything you can do on the PC version, you can now also do on the consoles. Alright, this will be our last fish. We'll head back and see if we can't get that fish tank set up before we turn in for the night. Let's head back over to the ED stop and head home. Now, fish tanks are a fairly early craft recipe that you get from research, and it's one of the 5-disc recipes, so I think that the earliest that's possible to get it, I've always gotten it as the last research item, so I've always gotten it as, or no earlier than the 20th of spring. And so I think that's the absolute earliest that you're able to start a fish farm. Let's go ahead and get one set up. We want the fish display. We'll need glass, marble, and hardwood planks, which fortunately we have hardwood planks, and we definitely have glass and marble in storage. So we'll get the marble, so we're looking for our hardwood planks, which we have in our inventory, and glass, which should be tempered glass. There we go, there's glass. So how the fish works, or how the fish display works, is that for the purpose of the kingfish, you place the 2 fish inside of it, and then 8 days later, they will breed if they've been fed the entire time. So what we need to do is place the kingfish that we have inside, and also place some food inside. And I believe the food that we have, you can buy food from the farm store as dough, or you can use bug eggs, which are loot from the Mr. Ladybugs. And I believe we have some bug eggs, so that'll give us a little bit of starting food. Not a ton, but it doesn't need to be a ton. So go ahead and put in our king salmon, and then we'll go ahead and feed them. I believe they need 1 bug egg a day, or 3 dough a day. Right. So now that that's set up, we are on track to make our millions in the none too distant future. Right. Since we also picked up some pigments, we can finally change the floor color of our house. Because black was fun, but I'm not sure that I like it. The blue is much better, much brighter. And then I also think I want to brighten up the walls a little bit. The mahogany isn't working for me, much as I thought it would be. So let's go ahead and take a lighter tone wood and white walls for now. There, that's a nice bright house. At some point we're going to want to clean up the inside of our house some more. But for now, we'll just focus on continuing our adventures. It looks like we ran out of fuel on our Skyver there. So let's go ahead and see, did we get what we needed? We did. We can make our 2 waste packs. Alright, so let's head into town to find the civil courts, turn that in. As we do that, we should go ahead and feed our fish. And they will give you a notification when they are needing food. They start off with a sort of a food energy bar, similar to the crops with the fertilizer. Although you can't see the energy bar, what you can see is when they are hungry, an icon will pop up. So you can sort of tell. There we go. That's taken care of. One thing we wanted to do was come over and check out the newspaper. Let's check this out. Bat endemic, streetlights installed. Very cool. Prince of Thieves meeting Mr. Ack. Dee Dee's come to Portia. Amber Island Bridge open. Alright, so what we needed to do was take a picture of the printing press. So, our camera key is Z. Right. Right. And then I think we need one more, which is the exterior of the Portia Times. Alright, so let's head in and talk to May. Deliver these photos. Complete that quest.
Photos look great.
Alright, let's head up and pick up another commerce commission. So a water engine, that's a pretty big one. 3 linen rugs. 2 advanced skyvers, those will be tough. I think we'll do the water engine. It's a big one. It's not quite as big as the 2 advanced skyvers. I'm just not sure that we can get 2 of them done in short time, so we'll do the water engine. If I recall right, the water engine's a pretty big job, but Not something we can't handle. Right. Now, one thing I do want to do, since we have a limited amount of bug eggs, is we're going to go ahead and head over to the farm store to buy up additional food for our fish farm. So, the food is dough, just on the second page. Go. And we're going to need quite a lot of it, so we'll just buy a full stack, 999. Buy out the farm. That'll last us quite a long time. Again, those fish take 3 dough a day each. We only have 2 of them right now. And although we may expand to having more, and we certainly will expand to having more shortly, we definitely don't need, 1,000 for the 2 that we have, or even any time in the next month or so. But we will reach that point, and that'll just sustain us for quite a long time. Alright, so here we can catch bannerfish and firefish, I believe. Lanternfish, but I think we have a lanternfish king, so I think we're looking for a bannerfish king and a firefish king. Our big goals. So we'll see what we can fish up here. Now, you never know how your luck is going to play out. Yesterday we got 2 kingfish back to back. It's possible we could sit here all day fishing and never catch a single kingfish. Unfortunately, that's how luck works. But we'll keep our fingers crossed. That was an emperor fish rather than a kingfish. Seaweed there. Lots of regular fish today. No kingfish just yet. Alright, there we have a lantern kingfish. I don't recall if we have this in the museum yet or not, so we'll hold on to it. I think we do. But we'll hold on to this and just turn it in, sell it if we can't make use of it. And of course, there's always the possibility we'll catch a second lantern kingfish, which we can then use to sort of jumpstart our fish breeding, because while ideally you would end up with multiple fish of the same type, like multiple golden salmon fish, so you can just sort of mix and match them. Having sort of a second set of tanks going works well, or works equally well. And in fact, you can even mix and match within the same tank. Speaking of, looks like we'll get another little jump start to that. Now, of course, the tricky part is getting two of the same type of kingfish, particularly early on. That can be quite challenging, as the only fishing pools you have access to at the beginning of the game are the two by the harbor, the one next to the Amber Island Bridge before you build the Amber Island Bridge, and then the one by the waterfall. The one by the harbor is probably the best place with the catfish kings. And really, all kingfish are identical in this regard, so anywhere that you can catch a kingfish is best, but I think the catfish kings remain the easiest. I haven't noticed a difficulty difference between the different types of kingfish, but that doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. And especially once you get the higher level rods, those differences just kind of melt away. Gotten 2 kingfish today, which is a pretty good start. We're sure hoping for a banner king or a firefish king, though. And that is the problem with trying to complete the museum exhibit there, is that you need some very specific things. Instead of just a kingfish, you need a specific kingfish. And so, since kingfish are so rare to begin with, and the fact that there are 3 types of fish in this pool to begin with, you know, we could see 2 or 3 more lanternfish kings before we see a firefish king or a bannerfish king. And that's simply how luck of the draw works. Hey, thanks for coming out there. How are you doing? EXM. They're trying to catch a couple of very elusive fish here, but they are being stubborn. We'll go ahead and fish until midnight and head back. Ah, hello, Sasha. Well, thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. How are you doing this evening? There. Now, because we did catch 2 2 kingfish. What we're going to go ahead and do is put those in our tank to breed as well, rather than even seeing if we should turn those in, because we can always then in a week or so turn in one of the offspring if we need to get that breeding system going a bit early. I'm doing well. We're just having a good time. Those as well. Right. So with that, I think we need to see what we'll need for our water engine. And then we'll be able to get... Okay, so we're going to need 2 more bearings. We have the 10 alloys, we have the small engines, we have the old parts, we have steel plates. So we actually have everything. We do need to craft the bearings, but we'll get those started tonight and have those for tomorrow. It is a Friday, so we get the whole weekend to complete these commissions. At some point, we really need to clean up our house. It's a bit of a mess. All right. One more day. It's a Saturday. So it being a Saturday, if we wanted, we could go, and I think we will. We'll go check on Emily and make sure that our chickens all get caught, get some of that extra reputation with her. So here we're going to want to feed these fish. Now, in a full tank, you'll want to feed 3 dough, so you 3 dough per fish, and to a maximum capacity of up to 10 fish, but they can't breed beyond 6. So we have 4 in there now, so that's 12 dough. Fully feed our fish today. Looks like our potato fruits will be done later today. Let's go ahead and talk to Ack and then head over to the farm.
Hi! Here they go again! Thanks for your help. These little things...
We will catch your chickens. On that note, we should go check on our ducklings that we got the other day, see how those are doing.
Sorry to bother you again. In return, here's...
Thank you for the eggs. Let's have a chat.
pumpkin season again.
And I will give you a gift, since I happen to know you like eggs and you just gave me some.
This looks nice.
Have an egg. Alright. Let's head in here. Double check on our animals, make sure that our horse has plenty of food. Looks like the horse is out of food, actually. Go ahead and put some wheat in there. And then... so we're going to need to find... okay, so the ducklings will eat potato fruit. Fortunately, we have all the potato fruit in the world. It looks like if we pet the ducklings, they get happier. So we'll try petting... we'll pet 4 of the ducklings and leave 4 of them separate. They're giving us lots of animal feces, which is nice. We can turn that into fertilizer for our crops. Alright, so it is Saturday. We have a Commerce Guild inspection we can do today. And then otherwise we're still sort of in a holding pattern. We're waiting on more research results before we can sort of proceed with our main story quest. So we're just kind of hanging out. Right, easy one. This one, 2 of the 3 were pretty straightforward. looking for what's different with this one. Seem to be the same shape, not seeing any unusual markings. Blades. Ah, I see. There we go. Well, they were generous and gave us very easy inspections today. I'll say that much. Alright. Let's, on. Writer from Walnut Groove. Hello, Han. Alright, so our fish tank seems to be going strong. Our ducklings are well taken care of. I think we've done all of our chores for the day. So that means that we can proceed back with our primary mission for this episode, which is trying to finish off that that quest for the museum to get all Kingfish. We are going to have to go to some other places because we're missing the bladefish and the blue mackerel still, but we're definitely missing 2 of the fish that are catchable out here. So we'll try out here a little bit more. I enjoy the fishing minigame in this game, but the pressure of trying to complete this quest is something I definitely have to weigh against the curiosity of finding out what the reward is, and my own patience. I should say I enjoy fishing at the Ocean Oasis, where you actually get to catch fish. And I also enjoy the challenge of catching the difficult fish, the kingfish in particular, very early on, the kingfish and goliathfish, before you have sort of the advanced fishing poles. It does take a bit of the fun away to know that you'll catch everything that comes up once you get the master fishing pole. Feels a bit like cheating. You sort of need to balance that engagement with the desire for success. You know, if it's so trivial that it doesn't keep your interest, then may as well be sitting on the couch, you know, watching TV or whatever, something that doesn't really require any active effort. Which I think is the big appeal of games over some of those more passive forms of entertainment, is that, you know, we like watching TV, we like getting the story, but I think there's something more knowing that you're the one writing the story, that you're deciding how things play out, or that you're the one that's driving the events to occur, even if it's sort of a fixed path that you know your character is gonna follow. You know, being the one that makes things happen feels good in a way. We're still looking for Kingfish. The Lanternfish King. And again, that is the great challenge. You know, coming out here for these specific types of fish, and I'm never going to complain that we catch a kingfish, of course, but we have caught 3 of the type we didn't need when there are 3 options. doesn't feel quite as good. But the good news is that Lanternfish King actually jumpstarts our fish breeding operation even further. Yeah, exactly. Exactly there, Sasha. 100%. So the idea of the fish breeding again is that I believe it's every 8 days for kingfish. If you have 2 of them in a tank and you keep them well fed, they'll produce an offspring, another version of that fish. So what that means is that if you start with 2 fish on, say, summer 1st, and you rush to get it and you get your fish tank set up and 2 kingfish of the same type on summer 1st. You set those up, then on summer 8th, you will have 3 of those kingfish. You'll get the 3rd one. Now that 3rd one doesn't really help, but then on the 16th of summer you'll get a 4th. And so at that point you'll have 2 breeding pairs. So then on the 24th of summer you'll get 2 more, 1 from each pair. That gives you 6. And then on the 4th of fall you'll have 9, of which you can take 8 of them to make breeding pairs. Then on the 12th of fall, you would end up with 12, plus 1 extra. And then on the 20th of fall, you would have 18. And at the end of fall, you would have 28. That's producing every 8 days 14 kingfish. Now, doing the math on that, 14 kingfish, worth 5,000 goals apiece, comes to around 70,000 goals every 8 days, or a hair under 10,000 goals a day. Now, it does take a couple of months, of course, to get there, but once you are there, it's almost entirely passive. It's literally you taking those fish and just selling them at market. And you could continue expanding it there. Each month would then double it. If instead of selling those 14 fish, you reinvested them, then after just 2 weeks, you could double your income. So by the end of the first winter, you could potentially be making 40,000 goals a day. Now, that's not realistic. In practice, you can't actually make more than about 2,500 goals a day. And I think with the kingfish, you're actually going to be limited to about 10,000, just because there's actually only one shop in the game that can even buy them at all, and that's the restaurant, which can buy at most 2. So it does put a little bit of a limit on things, but in theory, if you had a way to move them, you could make a ton. And so generally you finish out the main story of the game around halfway through the second year, or anywhere really in the second half of the second year. And if you're making 40,000 goals a day, it only takes about a month and a half to become a millionaire. And if you spend another month quadrupling that, from that 40,000 to 80 and then to 160 again per day, 160,000 goals a day. You're literally making millions of goals a week. Now, at that point, of course, it would get a little more tedious and a little more challenging, just the logistics of trying to keep up with all of those fish, but theoretically possible. Alright, we'll do last cast of the day here. Head home, and we'll have to try it again another time. I think this may be the end of our push to try and complete the museum. The curiosity is starting to lose out to the lack of patience. So we'll continue to prioritize fishing from pools where we still need to catch fish. So for example, when we go to fish for money, we may go to the wasteland instead of the desert. Even though the desert's a bit better, it's not actually that much better, and it has the opportunity for some of the kingfish we're still missing. All right, so let's see. We need to complete our water engine today. If we let our furnaces run out of fuel, that's not something we want to have happen. Make some more bronze. We keep trying to build up a stockpile of bronze, but we just can never seem to quite manage it. No matter how much we make, we just go through it at about the rate we're producing it. Carbon steel, we just can't. We simply can't keep up with, no matter what we do. It just gets eaten up. Right, so we're going to need some more steel plates. We'll craft those. Looks like the quality leather's done. Let's go ahead and get this going on some more hardwood planks. Again, just useful things to keep on hand. So it looks like the animals have a certain food quantity that they need, and depending on what you feed them, they do different things. So, alright, so it looks like feeding them will give them +3. Petting them will give them +3. And so if we feed them and don't pet them, they gain 3. If we feed them and pet them, they gain 6. Alright, to feed our fish. 12 more dough. Alright, let's get this this water engine built. We're going to need to come over here and get our bearings. Also going to need to go into storage and get out some of the different items we're going to need. So we're going to need old parts. Going to need carbon steel bars. Going to need some bearings. We're going to need some steel plates, I believe, which I don't think I have in my inventory anymore. Over here and sort all of this. Plates. Alright. What are we missing here? Okay, so the carbon steel bar must have been for the steel plate, so we just need the small engines at this point. So let's get out our small engines. And set that up. We'll take that and deliver that while we do our inspection for the day. Now, these inspections sometimes get pretty tricky. You know, they're often pretty straightforward, and we had some easy ones yesterday. But sometimes they definitely throw you. This one looks like we've got one there, and the end of the handle. So that one was pretty straightforward. So let's see, what do we have here? We have a marking, another marking, and another marking. Also quite straightforward. This one looks like it might be a little tougher. We'll see. Not seeing any unusual marks, although that is definitely the wrong shape, so there's one of 3. Oh, there is a mark there. Now the final one. The tricky part, and I don't know if it's necessarily what's going on here, is when something like the end of the handle is too long, because they're so far apart, it's sometimes difficult to spot. Nope. Right. And then they also do things like this, this bolt is sort of sticking out, but that's the same on both sides. Though it does look like there is another mark right there. Alright. It's out. Alright, done and done. Nice and easy. So, this day belongs to us. We can do whatever we like with it. We don't really have any commitments for the rest of the day. Let's go ahead and see if we can't sell some of the fish we've been catching. We're going to hang on to those kingfish, except for the gladiator kings I think we can sell. These emperor fish we don't really need. So we can rebuild our stockpiles slightly. Alright, now that that's taken care of. Cleaned out our inventory a little bit. We've reached the point where the game is really our oyster. We can do whatever we want. So we could continue fishing for money. We can, I think one thing we do need to do is gather up some more wood and hardwood, because we're still running those furnaces at full steam, and that does take a toll. So we'll chop some of the trees on Amber Island, I think, to refill our stockpile there, and to make sure we have all the power stones we need. We'll go ahead and hit the crystal clusters. And since we're out here, we'll throw out a line a few times, see if we might get lucky and catch the blue mackerel king. We'll do 5 casts here. The trees take about a week to grow back there, Sasha. So, there are also a lot of them throughout. The island is one of the more densely packed clusters, so it's a good place to go chopping. But in practice, there are more trees than you can reasonably chop. And part of that is that as the game goes on, you unlock new areas. You know, you start off unlocking with the Amber Island actually closed. That's the first sort of expansion area you unlock. And then you go into the Hazardous Wasteland and then into the desert. Wasn't really the fish I was hoping to catch. This will be our last cast before we move on. Looking for that king blue mackerel. Or any kingfish, really. Hey, we'll take another king koi. Why not? No, there's no long-term problem to you chopping the trees over and over again in this particular game. You really only need to focus on sort of your own concern about resource management. What you do find in the early game is that there are times when you would like to have more resources than you're able to get reliably, because it does take substantial effort to gather them early on, and you have less time and less stamina. You know, we've reached the point in the game where most of the things that we're doing are really optional. We're playing the waiting game right now on some research schematics to prevent or to continue the main story quest. Let's check out this this Hazardous Room. This is my first time here. We'll see what happens. Whoa, okay. That is a dude. I did not know you actually fought people in this game. Okay, this is a little more intense than any combat we've seen before. Even the dungeon that was sort of themed here to open up this area didn't have any people in it. Just had some of these worms. Alright, so we got some furniture and an advanced engine. Move on to the next floor. This is intense. Fortunately, they don't actually seem that dangerous. And again, we are pretty well equipped to come in here. So we seem to be in a decent spot, but definitely come at you in groups and do... You know, they don't do damage to us a lot, but I imagine the average player coming here wouldn't have quite the same equipment we do if they were at this level, and would therefore find themselves in kind of a tight spot here. This would be much more dangerous. Now, this is only the first level of the mine, so it may be easier than we're giving it credit for, and get quite a bit more dangerous as we go down, but... Alright, final floor. Time for the final boss. I'm not sure what we'll be fighting here, so this will be a learning experience. We want to watch for patterns in their attack and move to avoid it. So it looks like it's a drill machine. This was actually one of the enemies we fought in the dungeon, so it may be familiar to us. That was a pretty big hit. So it looks like there may be a winning pattern to just stay behind it and keep attacking it. Oh, that hurt. Alright, we're getting critically low on health. We'll go ahead and heal up a little bit. I believe we have some ointments and some first aid kits. So we'll use a first aid kit. It won't fix everything, but it'll help. At this point, I think we can just beat it down. Don't think it can kill us. Oh, that was close. It may have been able to if we'd let it. All right, bags are full. Can we expand our inventory? Oh, why not? We'll be getting a lot more money soon. We got a Nova sword. That's a new one. What's the Nova sword do? So our hammer does 200 attack. The Nova sword also does 200 attack. That is cool. Alright, I think we have a new weapon. The hammer may still be the best weapon in general because of its wide swings. But that's pretty neat. Yeah, the fighting in this game is actually a lot of fun. You know, the sword is a lot quicker, and they have different attacks for your positioning. So like if you're out of range, the hammer will do a spin attack to get you closer, whereas the sword will do a charge, like a single target sort of thrust charge. And one of the big draws for the hammer is that it does like an overhead chop that is a stun. It comes with a stun effect with it as well, and that makes it particularly good against groups of enemies because it's much easier to control them while you work on some of the lower health ones when you can take one or two of them out of the fight for 3 or 4 seconds. So that's why I've so far generally preferred the hammer, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it is the be-all end-all of weapons. And the fact that the sword has the same attack damage is pretty cool too. Alright, well I think that is where we will call it here. We may be back later this evening with another episode. So thank you guys for hanging out. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. We'll catch you guys next time. And go to sleep and call it a night. So thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you again real soon.